For those of you who don't know, but I also feature sarcastic commentary on my Patreon. This isn't posted up anywhere else except on Patreon. I thought that it would be fun to highlight the top snark from every single day as an incentive to get people to join. I started the month like so many other months and finished up the tail end of a book. This time it was Ignite Me, and then I practically breezed through the second book of the Hades and Persephone series, A Touch of Ruin, and then I rounded out the last of the month with the start of Restore Me. To be fair, we're now 3 books into the series and the narration has never once bothered to answer one simple question: what are the goals of the re-establishment? And considering that the re-establishment has been the driving plot of this series, that's not a good thing. Warner, I have to go continue the coup that you started. Also, Warner shows up just in time to start some more drama with Adam now that Adam has decided to be mature. Considering that there's 3 more books after this, there's no doubt in my mind that they'll somehow fail. This is a long-term solution, and Juliet's only just thinking of murdering one single person. Her vision is too narrow, and she's too blinded by her rage to understand that killing Anderson would make her feel better, but it would solve literally 0 problems long-term. I was expecting a garish gun that Anderson had ordered made that would disable their powers. I wasn't expecting for him to have founded the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. This war is over. We have to tell the others. No, it's not. That's not how any of this forking works. You took out the leader of the group, but there are still going to be plenty of people who believe in him. Enough people who would step into his shoes and continue to lead the re-establishment against you. Enough soldiers who would follow the new leader into battle. Enough soldiers who would view the murder of the re-establishment's supreme leader as a reaffirmation of their unbelief in the re-establishment. What the fork are the other 3 books if they're all hugging and acting like things are magically and instantly okay the second after Juliet killed Anderson? I have several questions, and I'm afraid to find out. Friendly reminder that Hades and Persephone have nothing in common outside of them being gods and wanting to bang one another. They're even at different points in their lives. Persephone is literally in her 20s. Hades is thousands, if not millions of years old. You know, my magic has become more and more unpredictable in the literal 3 days since she unlocked her full powers. Uh-huh. I get it. I get that there's this injustice in the world and this shirty person with literally too much power is walking around unchecked. But how many forking people have to tell her to leave it alone? This girl has literally 0 survival instincts. He then decides that the best course of action is to treat her like the petulant child that she is and to literally kidnap and imprison her in his palace. What a great boyfriend. Sarcasm. I legit don't know what Demeter hopes to accomplish with this. Maybe Persephone and Hades will break up, maybe not. Persephone would never go crawling back to her abusive mother regardless of her relationship status, so what's the forking point? He is the god of the people who have already forking died. Hades does not control the die. Why the fork does this series treat Hecate like a servant? I'm not sure if I'll ever be over it. Geez, you sheltered moron, you can't just snap your fingers and evil is instantly wiped out from the world. We all wished it worked like that, but it doesn't. Never mentioned is Apollo putting his pants back on. Like, I know that you're Greek and everything, but geez, this is a hospital. But I'm still angry at Hecate for making Persephone's life boil down to how the only thing Persephone is good for is being Hades' wife. Hades told her over and over that it would be far kinder to let Lexa make her own decisions, that Persephone wanted Lexa alive simply because it was convenient for her, and after Persephone made the deal with Apollo, Hades again told her that Persephone had just cursed Lexa. This is your bed, babe. Now you have to sleep in it. Again, I don't know what Demeter's endgame in all of this is, especially now that Luce's dealings are out in the open. Does she seriously think that Persephone would want anything to do with her, even if Persephone and Hades did break up? I think Persephone would sooner become immortal and move on with her life than to ever go crawling back to the human version of a dumpster fire being hit by a train. I half agree with this sentiment. I think that it's time for Persephone to move on and get the hell away from Dimitri and Cal. I don't think that the whiny little baby who writes angry op-ed pieces about people who've pissed her off this week should have her own paper. It's called a 2000s era LiveJournal account. We all had one and we were all 12. This was my choice. I'm sorry that it had to be this way, but my time in the upper world was over. I accomplished what I needed to. What was that? She smiled. Empower you. Normally, I'm all in favor of, yes, queen, we lift up other women. But, like, This ain't it. This is reducing a woman's entire life to existing for the sole benefit of lifting up Persephone and doing literally nothing else. I thank the author for including the tidbit about how she's waiting for the other leaders to make a move, but I'm still scratching my head over how she unalived literally one person and somehow thinks that it makes her queen of goddamn North America. How forking shirty was this military setup where one girl with a gun somehow managed to topple the entire thing? Juliet goes to Castle's office where she randomly talks with Kenji about cows, or rather, their poop. I guess you could say that it's a bullshit conversation. I'll show myself out. I would complain that the author teases with finally having answers about what's going on and then just forgot about it, but I don't know what I expected. Thinking of things is hard. We're now 4 books into this, so finally having answers seems like it would be asking for a lot. Meanwhile, something really forking unrelated to whatever the hell Juliet is doing. I really hope that these two narrations eventually come together. It's not so much that I actually support Warner's relationship with Juliet, but it's more that I'm wondering what's the point. Especially since Warner's off on some side quests over his grief over his father's death and Juliet is the only one who's pushing the plot along. I'm honestly just a little baffled as to why Juliet thinks that she has to do 100% of the work 100% by herself 100% of the time. I'm not sure if I'll ever be over how they unalived Anderson and just went about their lives like it was the best thing ever rather than the worst. Literally, nobody did anything after that, let alone to prop up the random townie who crowned herself queen for dealing with the rest of the world leaders who would probably come and destroy her sooner rather than later. The Nazira I remember did not cover her hair, and why would she? Her head scarf is a relic, a part of our past. It is an artifact of a religion and culture that no longer exists under the re-establishment. Our movement long ago expunged all symbols and practices of faith or culture in an effort at resetting identities and allegiances, so much so that places of worship were among the first institutions around the world to be destroyed. Civilians, as it said, were to bow before the re-establishment and nothing else. Crosses, crescents, stars of David, turbans and yarmulkes, headscarves, and nuns' habits. They're all illegal. This was ever so slightly hinted at in the first book, but because Juliet didn't know stuff, she couldn't exactly go into details. But the timeline of this just strikes me as odd, that this movement would have risen up in the span of Juliet's lifetime and completely and utterly not only overthrown things like Muslims and Christians, but the Jews as well. I hope I don't have to explain to you why people trying to stomp out the Jews would not be taken kindly. Also, this doesn't have to do with anything, but like, they removed culture and religion, but languages somehow got to say. Nobody said, F the French language, German got to go, bye bye Russian, so long Greek. Languages are every bit of a culture as covering your hair for God. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this, then you can read the entire Snark in full context in my Patreon for $1 a month. Come back next month for more out of context comments.